Thanks for your patience. We're just going to take one more minute to let people in to the webinar. Okay, great. So I'm Suri Deitch, and I'm the Dean of the School of Professional Advancement at Tulane. And again, really appreciate you taking time to be with us for this webinar for on admissions to our graduate programs, degrees and certificates today. I'm joined by my colleague, Sheila Gold, who's Executive Director of Recruitment Admissions, and our colleague, Ann Conlon, who's going to run the slides behind the scenes. If you have questions or comments at any point, feel free to put them into the chat box at the bottom of the screen. Probably everyone these days knows Zoom etiquette, but just wanted to say that. And you're welcome to ask questions during the presentation, but we'll also make sure to take a minute at the end in case any additional questions come up. So this is an overview of our graduate, degree, and certificate programs. It's a little bit of an introduction to the School of Professional Advancement, and then like a short description of our admissions process. You should know that if you're interested in a particular area, we do have program-specific webinars that we offer several times a month. And so you're welcome to attend one of those as well. And you're also, of course, always welcome to reach out to us with questions at any point. And right now, so it's June 2nd, and we are we have admissions open for spring 2021, but our big focus right now is on admitting students for fall 2020. And you'll get reminded of this later on by Sheila, but we're working toward a fall admissions deadline of August 1st. We'll be admitting students into our programs up until then, although the sooner you get your application in, the better, because the more time there is for the process. And I'll just say real quickly, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the School of Professional Advancement itself, but also just to acknowledge the time that we're in. We're all working remotely. If we're lucky enough to have jobs, we're in quasi-quarantine in some way. Some of us are working in jobs on site and being really careful, hopefully, and safe. But it's a very strange time, and it's among the many ways in which it is a strange time is economically. And we're glad to have you here today because we feel really good about the educational offerings at the School of Professional Advancement. We know that in an economic downturn, it's actually a good time to go back to school for all kinds of reasons, and that by going back to school and earning your degree or your certificate, you're helping to insulate yourself against the ups and downs of the economy and make yourself more competitive in the workplace. And we feel really good about how we do that at SOPA, and think that the opportunities we're offering will be appealing to you. Excuse me. So when I talk about the School of Professional Advancement, I always say that SOPA, as the school is known now, is a really unusual school within Tulane, which makes Tulane a very unusual elite private university. Tulane actually, has applied learning, which is what we do, in its very DNA, right? It was founded as the Medical College of Louisiana to combat yellow fever and other tropical diseases. It's still doing that, thankfully. And it started educating working adults very early on in the 1880s. And so the fact that we have a school now that exists that is focused on working adults and applied learning that's relevant to the workplace is a continuation of that long-term mission. And so we're really proud to be a part of that, but also to do it in a 21st century fashion. So in the next slide, we sort of lay out what we think are the reasons why you would consider coming to us for your degree or certificate program. And first and foremost these days, right, when everyone is teaching online, is that we've been doing it for a long time and we're really good at it. Obviously, the programs and the faculty, which we'll talk more about, the excellent student support and the intimacy of scale at SOPA. Even in our online programs, you are building relationships with advisors and faculty and your peer students in a way that can be harder to do in much larger schools. Affordability and flexibility, of course, and Sheila will talk a little bit later about our tuition and fees. And then finally, the fact that you become part of the Tulane community, the Tulane family for the rest of your life, and all the benefits that that brings, which are extensive. So first of all, to talk about online. So we like to talk about the scale and the depth of experience in teaching online at SOPA. The vast majority of our courses and programs, as I'm sure you know, are online at the graduate level. We have a few graduate programs that you can do partially in person and partially online if you want. And then one program, pretty much one program that you can do entirely on ground if you want, which is the Master of Liberal Arts. But that means that we have, as we say in this graphic, in this slide, which is actually kind of outdated now, right? Because we did it before the pandemic quarantine this spring. We have thousands of hours online teaching, many different programs, including award-winning programs taught online, and a faculty who are well prepared to teach online, which is very different from teaching in the classroom. And I would argue, actually, in a lot of ways, much more rigorous when it's done well. So at the next slide, we talk about how we teach online at SOPA, which is, I think, really important. We combine what's called synchronous learning, where you're all learning together at the same time, with asynchronous work. Typically, our graduate courses meet all at once on Zoom once a month. You might have a guest lecturer, you might be working on projects together, and then there's a huge amount of interaction with students and faculty otherwise, through group projects and peer review, through discussion boards, and other ways of collaborating. But then the fact that much of the material is asynchronous, which means you work on it whenever fits your schedule, means that you have a lot of flexibility, and that it's a great option for either going full-time as a student or balancing part-time enrollment with other things in your life. And at a time, again, when all schools are teaching online, the fact that we do it well and we know how to do it and we understand the differences between teaching in a classroom and teaching effectively online is really important. So the next thing we like to talk about is our faculty. And this is just a snapshot of 4 different members of our faculty. Tyra Mitchell and Ralph Russo on the right-hand side are full-time faculty. Tyra in our kinesiology, health and wellness, and sports studies programs, and Ralph in our IT and cybersecurity programs. The 2 faculty members on the left side are working professionals who teach at SOPA because they love to teach adult students and they love to teach things that people can use in the field and that will help students to advance their careers. So the faculty is amazing because they're experts in their field. They bring their real life experiences into their courses. They bring their professional networks into the work that they do at SOPA, which is a great benefit to you as a student. And they're really committed to teaching with us. And they're, like I said earlier, they're well prepared to do it. We are going to go real quickly through our programs. Like I said at the beginning, there are program-specific webinars, but this is a list of our master's degrees. So 9 different master's degrees. The most recently launched one is the Master's of Public Administration. So the first cohort of students is being admitted right now and starting in the fall, which is really exciting. And the program we launched before that was our master's degree in sports studies, which has been a really fabulous program. It actually launched in January with the first cohort of students. And on the next slide, we have a list of all of our graduate certificates. And so the key point to understand with our graduate certificates is that they are all stackable certificates, which means that the courses that you take in the certificate can be taken on their own, right? And that is a meaningful credential. It gives you depth in a particular area of study on its own, but the courses also stack into the master's degree. So every single one of these certificate programs is offering coursework that you can apply toward a master's degree. And so that's a really great thing because it gives us the flexibility to have students who are in different places. It gives you the flexibility to change your mind about your objectives once you've started. And it's a really great way to structure courses and programs from our point of view for adult students in particular. And then finally, when we're talking about our programs, we have a number of what are called post-baccalaureate certificates, which means that it's undergraduate coursework that is put together as a body of knowledge, a standalone body of knowledge for people who have already earned a bachelor's degree. And these are in particular in our digital design program, in our K-12 education program, paralegal, health and wellness, and cybersecurity. And again, this is coursework at the undergraduate level that people come back to take after earning their bachelor's degree. We also always talk about credit for prior learning, which is one of the ways that one of the many ways that we are adult student friendly. So you actually have the potential, if you're studying an area where you have significant prior experience, to document your experience and to turn it into credit toward a degree. The typical way that people do this is through what's called portfolio assessment, where our faculty actually work with you to map your experience onto the very specific coursework in the area that you're studying, and that can be up to 6 credits. But we also have partnerships of various kinds with organizations and institutes such as, for example, the Marine Corps College and the Homeland Security Institute of the National Guard, where people who've gone through those formal training programs can also earn credits toward a master's degree. So this is, again, one of the ways in which we are adult student friendly. We're also adult student friendly in our student support and success unit, which is our academic advisement and career advisement. So you have an assigned academic advisor who's highly experienced, who works well with students who have a lot of different things going on and are trying to figure out how to balance school with other obligations. We have a dedicated career advisor in the school who offers both workshops and panels with people from industry and individual counseling, so that if you need help with your LinkedIn profile or your elevator speech, or not that anyone's going into elevators very much these days, or your resume or interviewing skills, that assistance is available from our career advisor. And then, of course, like I said earlier, you have all the benefits of being a Tulane alum, both with the students you've met in your program and through the services and access that the university offers to alumni for the rest of their careers and the rest of their lives. So I'm going to turn things over again to my colleague Sheila Gold to talk some more about specifics around our admissions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Suri. Welcome. I always like to say welcome and thank you to all of our participants, because I know you're taking time out of your day to be with us, and we really appreciate that. We're excited about our programs, but we also appreciate when people take time out to learn about them. So SOPA, we are very intentional about our tuition. We know that our students are generally working adults, that you have multiple responsibilities, and those responsibilities oftentimes are financial as well as time commitments. And so we're intentional about creating an affordable opportunities towards degrees and certificates. Our tuition rate per credit hour at the graduate level is $1,078. I always like to point out to prospective students that we have very, very low fees in addition to the tuition rates. I know that students are savvy consumers and that you all may be looking at more than one school. Oftentimes schools talk about tuition, but they don't talk about fees, and fees can add up. At SOPA, we have very low fees. So the vast majority of what you're going to pay is your tuition rate. We also, if you're interested, on our website, we have a tuition calculator that you can play around with. You can put in credit hours that you might think that you might take 3 credit hours for one class, maybe 6 credit hours for 2, and see what the tuition might be as you're making a decision whether or not going back to school is right for you. Many of our students, if not most of our students, look for some financial support through financial aid. We do have a full financial aid office at Tulane available to support students. The financial aid process does take several weeks, so I encourage prospective students, when you start filling out your admissions application, to also begin filling out your FAFSA, which is your federal financial aid form. Doing those two things at the same time will set you up for success in terms of timing and getting a financial aid package back to you in time to start to start classes. And then we also have different types of aid in addition to financial aid. There are federal grants and loans. We are a yellow ribbon school, which we are very proud of. We are military and veteran friendly. We have 20% discounts for active duty military and veterans, as well as active and retired public safety personnel. And Suri alluded to slides ago about our credit for prior learning. While that is a savings of time, because you may get up to 6 credit hours of classes that you don't have to take, that is also a savings on tuition as well. So it's important to include that information. So our application process is straightforward. We're intentional about that. Our application can be found on our website. The website address is below, sopa.tulane.edu/apply. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to go ahead and start your application, and you can sort of look at it. We're going to need some biographical information. We also require a current government ID. For most students, that is as simple as using your phone to take a picture of your driver's license and uploading that image. We must have transcripts sent to us either by US mail or electronically from any prior institution that you attended and received credit. And then there's also a $50 application fee. I have two things to say about that. The first one is you get that application fee waived for attending this webinar. That's an automatic waiver. And the second thing is, if you have already submitted your application and have paid that fee, please send me an email after this and I will refund that payment. So our application deadlines for fall, which we are currently evaluating applications and getting admissions decisions to students right now. August 1 is the deadline. And then for those of you that are really planning ahead and looking at spring, which is in January, January 1 is our application deadline. So we have right now, those of you who are joining the webinar should also be getting invitations to our summer series. This is a series. There are 4 more dates left. And if you've joined us, great. And if you haven't, I certainly hope that you will. This is a series of small webinars that we're doing for prospective students. It's around college readiness. We're focusing on skills. Our first 2 webinars that we've already had were around the affordability of going back to college, and is that choice right for you, and how to help make that decision. We heard from some current students and why they felt like financing their education paid off. And then yesterday, Surrey and one of our faculty members did a writing webinar, college level writing. Are you ready for college level writing? Those webinars and the future ones are actually on our YouTube channel. So if you miss them, you can certainly go and watch them. And the link is on this page if you would like to join us for the future webinars. We certainly hope that you will. They're about 30 minutes and are proving to be incredibly helpful to prospective students and a good introduction to SOPA.
Great. Well, so thanks again to everyone who came today. We really appreciate it. We are excited to get to know you. We're excited about your application process and working with you through that. And if you do have any questions, there is the chat box at the bottom of the screen, and you should feel free to put questions in there. And then, as you see on the last slide, Sheila's contact information is there. Our many social media handles are there as well. And you'll receive a follow-up email thanking you for coming, giving you a link to the webinar in case you want to watch it again. And we will be in touch. So again, thanks for coming today. We appreciate your time. Please stay safe and well. And we look forward to seeing your finished applications. All right, have a good afternoon, everyone.